Hey y'all, Big Tim here. Thanks for tuning in for this episode of Old School and Bass with Big Tim. Today we got a special treat for you. We've got the 2020 Bass Federation National Champion, Lance Freeman. When I first met Lance in 2008, he was a junior contender on what they called the Southern Divisional for the youth division in Kentucky. So Lance and another fellow named Stuart were in my boat, and it was a bitter cold day. It was in April. Early to mid-April, I think like April 12th or something like that. But it was unseasonably cold. I don't think it ever got out of the 30s that day. And these kids, man, they fished like troopers. I was freezing to death. I don't know how these kids were able to manage. And I, helped them out as much as I could, coached them. And Lance ended up winning his division and went on to the national championship that year, which he eventually won. And in fact, in Eddyville, Kentucky, if you come into Eddyville from either side, west side or east side, there's a plaque on Highway 62, I think it is, that says Eddyville, Kentucky, home of Lance Freeman, 2000 and I think it was 2010 Junior World Champion. But now they might have changed that to make that the 2020 TBF National Champion. Ever since then, if I ever went down to Kentucky Lake and stayed at a hotel, and particularly if I was in Eddyville, Lance would come up and visit us at the hotel room. We've been out fishing together on Kentucky Lake. We went and observed some of the Elite Series guys down at Kentucky Lake a couple of times. And it's been a blast just watching Lance grow up over the years. And now he's the 2020 Bass Federation National Championship. So I was super, super proud of him. I'm just happy to have known him. And he's one of the greatest kids, and you're about to see that. He's one of the greatest young men out there that I've ever met in fishing. And that's the beauty of fishing, fishing tournaments. So I called Lance after he won. I said, hey, would you mind giving me a little interview? So what I decided to do is I wrote a bunch of questions out, emailed them over to Lance, and Lance gave me some video submissions of those answers to the questions. So without further ado, here's your 2020 TBF National Champion, Lance Freeman.
Hey, Tim. Hey, guys. Yeah, so you're talking about the 2008 tournament that I fished with the first time I ever met you. Man, that's a hard one to forget on Green River Lake because it's the first real up and step I ever took on the Bass Federation side. Like I said, which led me to this thing right here, which is beyond a blessing anymore. Yeah, I remember that tournament so well because it was one of the most miserable days I think I ever spent on the water. Let's see, what was it? It was raining, it was cold, it was snowing, it hailed for a little bit, the wind was blowing. Just one of those days that you think, man, I'd love to do anything else but go bass fishing today. But being a little kid, I was nervous, I was excited. And I can't say thanks enough to people like you that took me fishing on days like that. Like, those are the days I'll always remember. I believe if I got that right, I caught 2 for about 5 pounds that day. I remember catching one of them on a bluff end on a jig. And I think I caught another one out of a treetop or a Christmas tree. I can still tell you the exact spot that we caught them on. I remember where. I just don't remember necessarily what. But, man, people like you, Tim, are the reason that I made this here, that this is possible for me to go out and live this dream that everybody's had for so long and that I've had for so long. Since I was 11 years old, I may have been 2008. I'd have been 12 maybe. I know it was cold, so probably March. I was 11 or 12 years old. And it's also the first time I ever saw hot hands and realized what a miracle those things really work. But yeah, I remember that was the first time I ever qualified for a Junior World Championship. And I believe we went to Lake Monticello in South Carolina to fish that. And I didn't do so hot. But Kyle Raymer, another boy that fished the Bass Federation, the junior stuff with us growing up, ended up winning that. So, truly, yeah, I remember that tournament extremely well. Mainly for the weather conditions, being young. But I remember how much now, especially looking back, how much I appreciate, not just the boat captains, but the ones that didn't have to be there. You didn't know me from Adam. And that was what's the coolest part. And the reason I have to give so much camaraderie. I mean, you deserve all the accolades in the world for taking us fishing that day. It really was special. Not just anybody would do that. And I got to say thanks again, because it's turns like that kept that fire burning inside me and kept me going all the way till between this one, a few other world championships, I had an amazing career as a young kid because of tournaments like that and people like you taking me out there. And I seriously can't say thanks enough. So thanks again on that. So yeah, like last October, I made it through the state finals, or the state championship on Barron, and qualified for the semifinals, which really was the reason I fished the TBF this year. I focused Mark Cooper, another guy I met through the junior program, who took me the year I won a divisional of the year. I won the world championship on the Bassmaster side. And like I said, I can mention a lot of names through Kentucky's Bass Federation that allowed me to make it to the level I'm at today. But yeah, so Mark ran a division this year, this past year, 2019, that it was like a weekday division, and it was held on Barron River and Green River Lakes. I was lucky enough, with my job, I could go fish during the weeks. My weekends were a little bit hectic around here, so I was able to go up there and fish and qualify for the state championship. Had the state on Barron, and I did real well. I finished second in that one. But that led me to the whole thing I was looking for. I was looking forward to the semifinals on Kentucky Lake. So I was like, all right, I get to go home, I get to fish, I'll be comfortable. It's in the fall. I was like, this is my favorite kind of fishing. I was going to throw top water. So we get down here, get ready for the semifinals and everything, and it's hard. I mean, I'm talking, it's tough. Like, I beat on this wood because I felt like I was beating my head against this table all week trying to find fish for that tournament, because we're allowed, my end of the lake, what I consider my home turf is the north end of those lakes, and we were cut off from 68 Bridge and only able to fish there south. So coming out of Paris, I didn't really have a whole lot of things to run on, just kind of what I felt was right. I ended up winning I think there were 74, 75, 70-something boats in this tournament. And I won it with a 2-day total of 11 pounds. So if that tells you how tough it was a mental strain that whole entire tournament. Just the conditions we had to face, it was so tough. Bluebird skies, high pressure, big fog delay on day 2. I think we had to waste like 3 hours sitting there waiting on the fog to clear that morning. I got lucky on that one. I'm going to tell you, I sat on one bar. I caught 4 fish in 2 days that weighed 11 pounds. And they come off a rock about the size of this trophy. I mean, it wasn't but about 12 inches around. And that one rock held 4 fish throughout a matter of 2 days that I got lucky enough to land. Because 3 of them, I believe I caught 3 of them on top water and 1 of them on a spinnerbait. So I got lucky on that one. I was really blessed to have caught the fish that I caught. And everybody's like, oh, well, he's from there. I was like, I just straight up got lucky. To say everything isn't in a plan bigger than us is a little silly, because I've lived here since I'm 24 years old. I've lived on Kentucky Lake my entire life, and I've never heard of a 2-day tournament. The conditions that tough, that many boats taking 11 pounds. You really feel like something was meant to happen when something like that goes on. And then everything that happened this week at Grand, I'll get to that in a minute. But man, what an incredible trip this has been, just to make it to even just to the semifinals. And I'm trying to replay this as we go in my mind, everything that happened. I remember coming in that day with like 8 pounds on first day. Wow, I definitely just got my butt kicked. And not only that, but the second day when I come in with 1 bass, I thought I gave it up. And to have succeeded and made it that far, it reminds me of that day in 2008, how tough it was. The conditions were a little bit nicer. We were warmer anyway. But it was just as mentally grueling that day as it was physically grueling the first day I fished with you. So, to win a tournament on a derby that's that tough and that hard to win on, I was pretty thrilled and pretty excited. So yeah, Tim, you were asking about, lake conditions or anything up at Grand. I've never been there before. I didn't go up and pre-practice. I didn't go look for it. I went on I didn't want to have any preconceived notions being that tournament was in March. I wanted to get there and play the water exactly how it was. So I got there first day of practice. I drove over what they call the sailboat bridge, the main bridge that crosses the lake at Grand, right beside where we take off. And those waters were really muddy. Like, it was dirty. It was cold. I was like, man, I know this fish at Grand, or they're used to that cleaner water. And I love fishing dirty water. I love throwing a big spinnerbait, a chatterbait, things like that in that water. But I knew those Ozark Lake fish, because I'd fished Lake of the Ozarks and Table Rock growing up, or well, throughout college. So I knew those fish really like it cleaner water. They don't like mud. They like stain, not clear. So I found some cleaner water toward the dam and a cove, I think they call Ketchum. The spot that I caught my fish on was in the back of a creek, and I had a great co-angler to practice with. I had a guy named Scott Nyheisel. He runs Nyheisel still. If anybody needs something done, that's the guy, because what an incredible guy to practice with. So we got up there, and I was chunking a Strike King 2 tap. I found a little subtle point on my Lake Master map, and really, I've got to say this: I was never a guy that's like, your equipment means a whole lot. I kind of fished with whatever's in the boat was what I made work. Until this year, I have the opportunity now. Luz was a huge helpful, I say sponsor this week. They helped me out a little bit, and I was able to take those new Pro TI rod and reel combos both. And wow, what a difference it made, because all week I could feel things. I caught a lot of fish on an Alabama rig, a lot of fish on jerk bait, and man, I really focused on them a lot. So back to how I found these fish. I caught 5 fish in 3 days of practice. And I caught most of my fish in the tournament all 3 days on one spot. So what happened in practice, I pull up on this place, I see a shad come out of the water, and he wasn't no happy shad. Something was after his butt, all right? He wasn't just frolicking around there in 50-degree water temperatures. So I threw up there with that Strike King 2 tap, and I'm winding it back. Wham! I was like, man, I felt like a bite. Wham! Felt another one. I was like, it really felt like a bite. Scott behind me was throwing a Strike King KVD jerk bait. He threw in there, twitched it down 2 or 3 times. Boom, caught a 2-pounder. I was like, And that's why I said, put your rod down, that's enough. I wasn't getting any bites. I knew that maybe if it works, maybe there's some there. In my mind, I figured there was a lot of fish there, but, I only caught that one. Went and found another little place that had some fish on it for the same kind of reason, but I just didn't have that feeling like the other spot held big fish. So there's about 70 yards apart, and believe it or not, on day one, the guy winning the tournament was on the secondary spot, and I was on the spot that I thought held the bigger fish. He beat me by 2 ounces. Dave Schneider Jr. is his name, an incredibly nice guy, one of the most respectful and humble people I've met on the water, and I can't say enough good things about him either, because we had an agreement out there on the water of how things were going to work, because we knew there were enough fish in the area for us both to make the All-American, and one of us was going to win the national championship off of them. I was just the lucky one that the big fish pulled up on the spot that I had found, and I was very fortunate for that. So, that one spot that Scott and I had found in practice, it was on a lake. I've got hummingbird graphs on my boat now, and I got lucky enough to see and watch where a subtle point come out off a bank. And if you didn't know any better, you'd say I was fishing the bank, because I was literally I was throwing right out in front of some buckbrush, and all those fish were 2 to 4 foot of water. I mean, so to have that many bass in a spot that shallow and to make them stay there for 3 days is beyond me. But I'm extremely blessed for the opportunities that I've had because of, the junior programs growing up. None of this would have been possible without, I keep referencing back to it, but in 2008, Tim, when you took us on Green River Lake, that right there started more for me than you'll ever realize, because that was the first time I made a world championship. And when I went to South Carolina, I knew that's what I wanted to do for a living. When I was able to sit out there in that freezing cold can't feel my hands at 11, 12 years old, and and have the desire to want to keep doing it and keep going out there and keep fishing, man, I can't say enough thanks to you for that. You mean more to me and a lot of people than you ever realize. So Grand that week, I really fished. I fished for clean water. I found some cleaner water in the elk on the first day of the tournament. I never practiced up there. Ended up catching a 4 there the first day, a 4.5 the second day. On the last cast, I caught a 6.5 pounder up the elk. So I was really lucky to have found the kind of water that I was after that week. I had the tournament won on the last day, but I fished for 10 minutes on the first day, 10 minutes on the second day, and I fished the whole day the last day. But I'll tell you a funny story real quick. So on day 2, the cameraman got there, and I was sitting on the front deck of my boat, crisscross applesauce, running trolling in my hand. I was still running 4-tracks, just kind of protecting my spot because I knew it was there. I caught those fish so quick. Camera boat pulls up. He said, "Aren't you Lance?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." He said, "Aren't you fishing National Championship?" I'm like, "Yeah, matter of fact, I am." He's like, why aren't y'all fishing?" Well, I'm done for the day. I had 18 pounds in a matter of like 10 minutes that morning, and I was done. So that was a pretty comical part I've got to add in there that, so like I said, I fished 10 minutes first day, 10 minutes second day, and it took me, I caught my limit on the third day at 8:57. So I got there about 8:10. But yeah, what there, that was a magic. I would put Iaconelli to shame. I'm surprised y'all didn't hear me up in Cincinnati that week because I put a 6.5 pounder in a boat and called out a 3, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just did this. That's all I could think. I was like, that's $125,000 living the dream. That fish right there just sealed the deal on my dream I've had since I started bass fishing. And to sit there and look at a fish like that, I mean, I felt like, all the iPhones now, you got those little emoticons, emojis, whatever you want to call them. So I mentioned a while ago, it was so much more than fishing this week. This trophy right here, I keep looking at it and I keep smiling. This trophy is 13 years in the waiting. When I first started this, I'm 24 years old now. I was 11 years old when my dad first took me in my first bass tournament, for junior fishing. And I won it with 10.33 pounds. I had 2 dead ones because I was 11 years old. I was throwing a worm. They kind of sort of ate it all the way back here somewhere. And, you're going to lose fish like that at 11 years old. So that was my very first bass tournament I ever fished. Caught them on a 7.5-inch tequila shad worm, and I think I may have caught a 3-pounder that day on a jig. But I remember all that. Believe it or not, my dad's on the other side of his camera right now, and I can't tell him. And I know I've mentioned thanks to you, but to have my dad, to have my granddad, to have my sister, have all my family there that week, means so much more to me than just another tournament. Because the first thing I did, I got off the stage that last day. I won. I did it. And they wanted a picture of my fish. The first thing I did, I wanted a picture of my dad and the check and the trophy. I wanted a picture of my granddad and the fish because I've got a bunch of them. I just don't have, it's moments like that you want to live forever. So as soon as I got off stage, I wanted my granddad to come hold fish. I wanted my dad to help me hold this trophy because it wasn't just me that won this event. It was all of them. It was people like you, Tim. It was people like my Uncle Steve that helped get me here, that taught me everything that I know to make me, prepare me for that moment. This tournament isn't about me. It isn't that I won the Living the Dream package. It's we won the Living the Dream package because I wasn't the one that got there. Yeah, there's no way I could ever do this by myself, and I know that. I know that every day when I wake up, and I know that every day I'm on the water. It's never an I thing. It's a we thing every day. It's why I love tournament fishing. It's why I love bass fishing. I love the art of it because it's a community sport. It's not a, you take a event like golf or like tennis, it's the personal aspect of it. But in bass fishing, you learn. You never stop learning. And I learned stuff every day from afternoon trips, after school when I was young with my granddad out there. I remember catching a fish stepping off on the dock, having one-on-one competitions with my cousin. My granddad tell you who caught the most fish that day. All these different things, and it all comes together. I mean, every fish I caught out there. I was chunking at Alabama with those rage swimmers on it out there on Grand Lake this week. And the whole time in my mind, I'm getting flashbacks. I mean, like it's right here of all these things that happened growing up, of all these different events, of all these different lifelong memories I've had that have got me to this point. I'm 24 years old, and I just want to live in the dream package. Like, I literally get to go chase and live the dream that I've had since I was a kid. I I'm never a guy that's short on words, and I become speechless every time I think about it, because this right here means I get to do something, or we get to do something. You know, I want everybody to know every time that everybody's right there with me. It's not just a me thing. I remember you told me how, believe it or not, to this day, I still fish bluff ends like you told me to do when we were 12 and 13. I still, throw a jerk bait like my granddad taught me to, because I'll never forget the time he caught 2 8-pounders on a road bedding on Lake Barkley. All these different things that have happened that have led me to the knowledge that I had to use this week. But it's what drove me to push myself that much harder and think, do I need to conserve these fish? Do I need to do that? My uncle's the one that taught me how to manage fish over multiple days, my Uncle Steve. There's so many people that led up into all these different aspects into 3 days of fishing, but it wasn't just 3 days of fishing. That was 13 years of bass fishing condensed into 3 days. And I wish somehow you could get a video camera what plays through somebody's mind, because that third day, every one of those things happened. I saw all of it in a matter of 5 minutes when those fish started biting and firing. I can't wait for the video to come out, because I got 7 bites in a row before I caught one. I was like, I know they're not whites. And all of a sudden it happened. It was just 1, 2, 3, 4. And they kept biting. They kept coming. They kept growing. And I was like, oh, my gosh, this is happening. Like, this is real life. I woke up the next morning in my hotel room, looked up next to the TV, and there sat this trophy. I was like, that just happened. It's real. Like, it wasn't just a dream, but it is going to be a dream. Like I said before, my family being there, you guys helped me out along the way, the Federation, the Bass Nation, all these different aspects and avenues I've had the privilege to ride along and take part of along the way is, man, I'm eternally grateful for everything, especially for every fishing trip I've ever taken and what it's meant so much more than just a bass. So, any advice for younger people? Yeah, I've got some pretty important advice I feel like everybody needs to hear. And it's not just for young people, it's for everybody, because, as bass fishing, we get caught up in a lot of the superficial things there. We got sparkly boats. We got brand new baits. We got jerseys. We got hats. We got the glasses. The trophy, everything we get caught up in every day. We get away from what bass fishing is truly about. Bass fishing is an art. It's not just a competition. It's not head on head. It's not even about the competition between boats. It's an art to distinguish how to get ahead of a creature you can't talk to and you can't understand. Because if you ever think you understand those things, they're going to humble you super fast. A bass is one of nature's wildest beasts, in my opinion. And I think as bass fishing, we owe it to ourselves to focus on the art of bass fishing more, to understand that we don't understand. To get out there every day and appreciate what the good Lord set forth for us, from the sunrise to the first cast, to the way the bait hits the water, to the way a crankbait rusts the water. The way all these things happen, I think we need to take a step back from trying to chase a sponsor or grow a big following on Instagram or YouTube or whatever we're doing, and step back and realize, hey, wait a minute. I'm going fishing. And I'm going fishing because I love to fish. And this week, I had fun fishing at Grove, Oklahoma this week. I had fun. The third day, I'll never forget it, because I fished with a guy named Derek Pendleton. Sorry. He won the Co-Angler Champion. He won the Co-Angler Living the Dream package. He's going to get to go fish the All-American. He's going to go to fish the FLW Series Championship. But it wasn't just about me that day, and I knew that. He caught his limit at 8:56. I caught mine at 8:57. And I was so excited for him at 8:56. I just about couldn't cast, because I knew in my head, I was like, this dude just won it. I was so excited for that, man. And that's what's so great about bass fishing is you're able to do these things. You're able to go out and share these times with somebody you meet that morning. Like, how cool is that I got to be a part of a life-changing experience for that guy. And he got to be right there for me. That's what's so cool about bass fishing, is not necessarily the fish you catch or the checks you cash or the trophies you win or whatever it is. It comes to the matter of you make lifelong friendships. You make things that matter. You get to see the things that matter in this world every day when you're bass fishing. The biggest advice I can give to everybody, not just young anglers, everybody, enjoy every cast of it. Enjoy every moment you're out there because, we take way too many things for granted in this life. And one of the most beautiful things in the world is fishing, in my opinion. It's everybody's game. And nobody is at an advantage or disadvantage at the end of the day. People are like, oh, well, electronics or this or that. They tell you all these excuses. I'm thankful this week for Lake Master. But honestly, a map is what helped me win this tournament. I didn't use side scan. I didn't go out and have the newest whatever. I found those fish by fishing. And that's what I love about things happening in this world. It's not necessarily just the newest and greatest and shiniest. Sometimes the best things in the world are as simple as just tying something on your line, throwing it out there, and enjoying the moment for what it's worth. So my advice to everybody is enjoy it. Don't get caught up in the camaraderie. Don't get caught up in the shiny things of bass fishing because it's a sport full of shiny things, but enjoy the things that make it what it is. So that's my advice, Tim. I want to say thanks to you. I know Lori's there. I want to say thanks to y'all. You guys, sent me a congratulations thing every day. I can't tell you how many times I got texts, phone calls, all these different things come through this week that, I get a little choked up thinking about it because when I finally looked at my phone, literally minutes after walking off that stage, I had 100 and something text messages, Facebook notifications, phone calls. Not to sound selfish, but I felt like I was the most blessed human in the world because I had so many people that care about me, and to watch this and watch this go down. I'm going to take advantage of my spot on the tour this year. They're offering me a spot to fish the FLW Pro Tour, and I'm not going to do it alone. I'm going to do it through everybody that sent me a text or everybody that thought about it, texted me, called me this week. Me getting choked up thinking about this isn't because it's about me. It's because of everybody that got me to this spot, and that's what I love about bass fishing. So, Tim, Lori, thank you guys so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak on this and talk to you guys this week. Love you guys. Thanks, everybody out there for watching. If there's anything I can do, you can always catch me on Facebook, Instagram at Lance_Freeman, or even have me on Snapchat at Lance.Freeman1. I'm always more than happy to talk to anybody about fishing. So, hit me up on anything like that. God bless. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.